Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you a quick little theory video that's been on my mind since the first episode of the latest season of RWBY. And that is the theories as to why I believe that all three plans set by the heroes are going to fail. Now, I do reckon parts of Salem's plan will fail as well, but I reckon she'll get away with at least something she didn't have at the start of the volume. Whereas the heroes, they won't be able to achieve any of their goals. Now, this video will have spoilers up to Volume 8, Episode 3, because that's the latest episode that's come out. So, fair warning if you haven't watched that episode yet. There are three main fronts that the heroes are divided on in this volume, and each front will be given an appropriate name so I don't have to keep repeating the character names. The first front I'll be talking about is Mantle Team, which consists of Yang, Ren, Jean, the Happy Huntresses, barring May and Robin, the Mantle Huntsmen, and Oscar Ospen, though he's currently not with the group. And their plan is to bring everyone in Mantle into the crater under Atlas. The second front I'll be talking about is Amity Team, which consists of May, Ruby, Weiss, Blake, Nora, Penny, Pietro, and Maria. And their plan is to launch Amity into the atmosphere with Penny, Pietro, and Maria on it. And the final front is Atlas Team, because they're still heroes, technically. Some are bridging on not being heroes anymore. Heck, they're bridging on not even being anti-heroes anymore, but Atlas Team consists of Ironwood, the Aesops, Winter, though this is debatable, and Watts, though I believe this to be temporary. And their plan is to get Penny to open the Winter Maiden's vault and use the staff to raise Atlas into the atmosphere. And they'll do this by hacking Penny. First up, as I said, we have Mantle Team, with their plan to evacuate Mantle under Atlas. Now, there are three possible outcomes that I can see with this plan, and I'll go through them from the least to the most likely in my opinion. The first, and least likely, possible outcome is this plan going off without any further hitches. And I've put this as last because A, it's not the plan entirely failing, though you could say it did a little because Oscar got kidnapped by the Hound, and Ren, Yang, and Jean aren't currently actively working towards the plan either, so about half of the main team is off doing their own thing, so they're not going to be able to evacuate in time. And this happened within an hour or so of the plan starting. So the likelihood that they'll be able to get through the next, I'm going to say about 16 hours of the day, because it was sunrise when the season started and they have until nightfall. There's going to be more that's going to happen. The middle outcome, in terms of likeliness to happen, is that they managed to get everyone in Mantle evacuated to the crater, only for Atlas Team to fail in their plan, that being they managed to extract the staff. However, it gets taken before they can take Atlas into the atmosphere, and this would cause Atlas to fall to the floor on top of the citizens of Mantle, either crushing them outright or trapping them in the mine shafts. This is a hell of a lot more likely than option 1, but it's also not as likely as option 3, which is Mantle being evacuated to the crater, but Salem begins her attack, sending her aerial forces towards Atlas and her ground troops. This may or may not include Salem herself and her lieutenants to Mantle to wipe out those people, resulting in the crater being surrounded and overrun, and ending with many casualties, both civilian and huntsmen alike. Now, I have theories about who may be injured or killed in this battle, but that's a different video. The only reason I'm giving so much credit towards the possibility of Atlas falling onto Mantle is because this outcome was sort of hinted at in Volume 7, which really bumped up its likelihood. And this was when Vine suggests that by bringing everyone up to Mantle, they were playing into the enemy's hands, meaning if they brought everyone to a singular place, it could be wiped out in a single strike, rather than having to go through the efforts of taking out an entire city and then simultaneously taking out a secondary city. They just have to take out the second city with its full force, and there goes everyone. But I still reckon that there's going to be a massive battle in the slums, in which many Mantle citizens will die, many of the Faunus will die, many of the Faunus will die protecting the people of Mantle and change those that remain's opinion on them, sort of like how the Fauna militia changed the opinions of those in Haven and Mistral, though not entirely, they've still got a long way to go there, but yeah, I reckon it's going to be an all-out battle in the crater as the most likely outcome for Mantle Team. Next up, we have Amity Team and their plan to launch Amity into the atmosphere. Before I get started, I must mention that this is the same plan that all 3 teams were acting on last volume, but now they have the added component of sending Penny, Pietro, and Maria up with it to keep them away from Salem. Now, I'm not sure whether the plan to launch Amity is going to fail, but considering the fact that Watts is hacking into Penny to bring her under Ironwood's control, and the fact that they need Penny at Amity to launch it, otherwise they need Ironwood's permission from his console, it entirely depends on how long they have between Watts getting Penny's tech, that being the sword he was given at the end of episode 3, and them starting the launch sequence, compared to how long it would take for Watts to override Penny's free will after getting the tech. So it's sort of a 2 teams working simultaneously, and whichever one finishes first is the one that succeeds. There's also the question as to whether Ironwood will see that Penny has the launch codes for Amity and hold Watts off until it's up, since launching Amity does in no way other than a slight time delay hinder James's plan to raise Atlas. And it was initially his idea to do so. I do, however, think that the plan to send Penny up with Amity will 100% fail, for two main reasons. The first is, as I said, the fact that Watts is hacking Penny, so it's only a matter of time until he forces her to come back to Atlas. But even if that wasn't a factor, the plan would still fail because, in RWBY's own words, when referencing the raising of Atlas, no matter where it goes, Salem will be able to reach it, no matter what. Now, she was referencing the Staff of Creation here, saying that no matter where Ironwood took the staff, whether it's to other kingdoms or up into the air, Salem would be able to get the staff. The same applies to the Winter Maiden, because if she can get into the atmosphere on one case, then she can with the other as well. We know from World of Remnant that dust fails as soon as it breaches the atmosphere. So once it's in space, it does nothing. Meaning that Amity, which is being powered by dust to propel itself upwards, will not be able to go to space. And we also know that despite being still in the atmosphere, even the flying Grimm will not be able to reach it. This was said in Volume 7. However, Salem herself should be able to reach it, as she can use her magic or Grimm powers to fly up to it. And if it was a matter of the Grimm dying from a lack of oxygen, she can't die. So theoretically, she might have just trained herself to not need to breathe anymore, as you see the case with many immortals in fiction. There's also the fact that Salem could simply wait it out until Maria, Pietro and Penny run out of resources, such as food, water, and all that, because unlike Atlas, they don't have farms and that on Amity. So she could either send her troops up with the resource transport, or take the maiden powers from the next host, provided Penny needs to eat, drink, and or recharge herself to stay functioning. The final plan from the heroes that will likely fail is that of Atlas' team, and their plan to raise Atlas into the atmosphere. And this is again for a number of reasons. The first reason of failure is the same point I made for Amity team, and that is Salem being able to find her way up to the location regardless of how high or how far they go. Unless, in the case of Atlas, they breach the atmosphere and go to space. But even then, she may still be able to reach them, provided that her immortality would be able to protect her from the lack of oxygen and the cold that would be instantly beset upon her once breaching the atmosphere. And since we don't know how her immortality actually works, because she can stab herself, she can kill herself with mortal means, and her body is completely intact. However, when she was with Ozma in his second form, we see after their battle, she actually regenerates from a pool of the Grimm liquid, I guess. So, don't know exactly how the pools of darkness affected her immortality. Anyway, back to the reasons for Atlas team failing. The second reason is that as soon as Watts manages to hack Penny, or while he's hacking Penny, Pietro will be straight back in there fighting to get his daughter back into her own control and upgrade her system so that it would be a constant fight within Penny between the two tech geniuses. And this may possibly show on the outside as well. Like, maybe when Penny's under Watts' control, her eyes are red, like in the opening, but they're green when she's under her own control. And we could get this cool duality scene where one eye is red and one eye is green, and she has to sort of either fight herself or she's fighting her friends with one side and trying to stop it with the other, which I guess is still fighting herself. This point is strengthened again by the opening, where both Watt and Pietro are seen at their terminals next to Penny, who has her normal self on Pietro's side, but her reflection that could be interpreted as being on Watts' side of the mirrored wall. It shows a different, fractured version of Penny, sort of implying that it's not the Penny that we know that is being shown on Watts' side of the wall. The final point is that Atlas team has the most people working against it when it comes to achieving its goals. Because sure, Amity team has Atlas and Salem, and Mantle team has Atlas and Salem. Atlas team has Mantle team, it has Amity team, it has Salem, it has, hang on, I'm trying to find it, the prison team, which is Robin and Crow, and unfortunately Jacques, who I reckon would try and take down Ironwood as revenge for imprisoning him, and sees it as an opportunity to escape prison. We have the Schnee family in the manor, being Willow and Whitley, and their staff, including Klein, once they hear what's happening to Weiss at the hands of Ironwood. We have potentially Winter, potentially Marrow, who may try and take them down from the inside and possibly die. And we'll also likely see some of the students, those who fought in the fall of Beacon. So Team Funky or CL, they might also help. So you'd have the ground forces, you'd have the aerial forces, you'd have internal forces, all fighting against Atlas team. Whereas the others only have to focus on two, and in terms of Salem's side, she just has to wait until they tear each other apart and then swoop in and take out the rest. She has the least people actively working against her in terms of a fight capacity. But that's all I really have for this theory. So I'll do a quick summary. Mantle team is going to fail because either Atlas is going to actually drop onto the slums and wipe out the majority of everyone that's there and trap those that are left in the caves, this could lead to a very cool Battle Realm inspired scene. This is Battle World from the Secret Wars arc in Marvel, where some of the strongest huntsmen, being Yang, Nora, Yon with his constant aura, just having to support the structure to keep it from collapsing on those that are around them. Or they're going to evacuate Mantle to the slums and have it be completely surrounded by Grimm and Salem's lieutenants, and they're going to be overwhelmed by that. Next up is Amity team, and they're going to fail outright because Ironwood and Watts are hacking Penny, and once she leaves Amity, that's their plan failed straight away. They may also lose Penny before Amity is sent up, and there's also the fact that Salem could just reach them one way or another once they're actually in the atmosphere, because if she can reach Atlas, no matter where they take the staff, in RWBY's words, then she can easily reach something that can't go as far. Finally, Atlas team, they're going to fail for the same reason I just mentioned with Amity team. There's also the fact that Pietro will be actively working against them to get Penny back, to try and stop them from opening the vault in that, and it'll be a battle between Watts and Pietro at their terminals, and I honestly see Pietro winning that battle because, let's face it, he's a much better technician than Watts. Even though Watts has his instant hack rings, he doesn't have them anymore. And there's also the fact that rather than having two opposing forces like Amity and Mantle team, they have everyone else that is against them, including some internal factors that could very easily take it down from the inside. So that's been the entire theory video. If you liked the ideas that I put forward, if you don't think that one or more of these plans are going to fail, if you have more reasons to strengthen these arguments, or have more reasons that they may fail in general, put them down below. I'll read all the comments, I'll happily discuss them with you, and until the next video, catch you in the next one.